Then David was angry because the Lord's wrath had broken out against Uzzah, and to this day that place is called Perez Uzzah. So again, they had reached the threshing floor of Nekon. Uzzah reached out to take hold of the ark because the ox stumbled. The Lord's anger burned against him, and therefore God struck him down. And Uzzah had died there beside the ark of God. And David's now angry because he's like, Uzzah was just being a good person, right? Once again, do we do that? Do we like, well, that person's just being a good person. So good acts or things that we think are good acts may be good, but they're not the whole picture. So we have to back up and see and pull the pieces together. Why did a bad thing happen when something good was being done? Let's continue to read. David was afraid of the Lord that day and said, "How can the ark of the Lord ever come to me?" He was not willing to take the ark of the Lord to be with him to the city of David. Instead, he took it aside to the house of Obed Edom, the Gittite. The ark of the Lord remained in the house of Obed Edom, the Gittite, for 3 months, and the Lord blessed him and his entire household. Interesting. So, again, this the ark made it to on a cart. you know, Instead of him bringing it to where he was in the city of David, which was Jerusalem, he sent it to somewhere else, and so that somewhere else was Obed and the house of Obed Edom, and that house was blessed. He's afraid of something that is blessings. So we already know something's off. So let's continue to read. Something's off, may be off with David. So now King David was told, "The Lord has blessed the household of Obed Edom and everything he has because of the ark of God." So David went down and brought up the ark of God from the house of Obed Edom to the city of David with rejoicing. When those who were carrying the ark of the Lord had taken 6 steps, he sacrificed a bull and a fattened calf. David, wearing a linen ephod, danced before the Lord with all his might, while he and the entire house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouts and the sounds of trumpets. As the ark of the Lord was entering the city of David, Michal, daughter of Saul, watched from a window. And when she saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, she despised him in her heart. So here's Michal, who, remember, Saul had told David back when Saul was alive, because he was jealous of David. He told David to go and kill 100 Philistines and give him, or kill some Philistines and give him 100 foreskins. And so David went out and gave him 200 foreskins and for Michal, and that his prize would be his daughter Michal. And so Michal is here now. Previously, she's done some things to show that she did trust or love David, and now here she's seeing that David's dancing and in front of the ark, and she is not feeling it. She's not feeling it. She doesn't like what he's doing. And we'll get more information here. So let's continue to read. They brought the ark of the Lord and set it in its place inside the tent that David had pitched for it. And David sacrificed burnt offerings and fellowship offerings before the Lord. After he had finished sacrificing the burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord Almighty. Then he gave a loaf of bread, a cake of dates, and a cake of raisins to each person in the whole crowd of Israelites, both men and women, and all the people went to their homes. When David returned home to bless his household, Michal, daughter of Saul, came out to meet him and said, "How the king of Israel has distinguished himself today. disrobing in the sight of the slave girls of his servants as any vulgar fellow would. She's not too happy. She thinks that he is not being royally proper. We can put it that way. Many other thoughts and feelings. David said to Michal, "It was before the Lord who chose me rather than your father or anyone from his house when he appointed me ruler over the Lord's people, Israel. I will celebrate before the Lord." Ooh, he said, "Who chose me rather than your father or anyone from his house." Ooh, he's cutting deep. This is an argument right here. I will become even more undignified than this, and I will be humiliated in my own eyes. But by these slave girls you spoke of, I will be held in honor. And Michal, daughter of Saul, had no children to the day of her death. So Michal was not happy that David was giving his all, and by meaning that David was in full celebration to the Lord. So, is it okay to celebrate in fullness to the Lord? That's a good question, right? Think about it. The Lord loves for us to praise him back. And when you are in full, when you are just wanting just to glorify him, and you are in that feeling, in that moment of praise, what you do, just that feeling of love, you just want to do whatever is in your soul, in your mind, in your heart, all together to give back. And that's that feeling that of love, wanting to hug, wanting to praise, wanting to worship. And that's what David was doing. He was in that. He was in that excitement, joy, love, comfort. You can just feel it. You can close your eye. If some people have to close, I do. I close my eyes and you can just feel it even more so. You don't even have to close your eyes, but just to feel that and want to do things and just be so happy. And that's what David was. He was in pure worship. He was in full worship and love. And Michal was too busy at that time, whether it's wanting to be dignified, wanting it to be, in some ways, jealous, in some ways, in other ways, just maybe not even being in full belief, just be like, the ark's back, that's a representation of us, but why are you doing all this other stuff? Why are you dancing and flailing around and such? Instead of understanding that her husband David was actually what he was doing, what he felt. And for people who knew what that meant, knew what the covenant meant, knew what the ark meant, they would be dancing and celebrating and shouting for joy and playing instruments and singing and doing the most. But Michal here wasn't. And so it shows what she was thinking and how she was thinking at that time. Was she being too prideful? Was she being too arrogant? And obviously something was wrong. Obviously something was not there, that she didn't really even care to worship the Lord. So what happened is, we see there was punishment there, because the Lord is to be praised. And Michal, unfortunately, never had children from that day forward until her death. And so things bringing past to present. Think about it. Do we see that happen today? Do we see people who are in just full amazement of the Lord, of just in full joy? Do we ourselves feel too embarrassed too embarrassed to celebrate, too embarrassed to just want everybody else to join in as well, just to dance and sing and play instruments and just be in love and worship of the Lord? Do we get too embarrassed? Do we get too prideful? Do we get too arrogant? Those are some good questions. Because at any time in our life, whether we're in a church or in a cathedral or a place of worship or not, anytime we feel that sense of joy and that wanting to give back, we should do it. We should be able to do it, right? So think about it. What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel and what does it make you think?